So this is a sermon that I offer every so often at this season. Mitchell wants to know if this is a repeat. If you recognize it, then it's a repeat. And if it's not, let's hear it out. Because it's not about Hanukkah when I'm talking about this season. And it's not about being a minority in a Christmas majority culture. It is about college acceptance season. This is the season when parents are posting where their kids have been accepted into colleges. Facebook, Instagram, other social media platforms have smiling, excited faces, and it is a moment of pride after a lot of work. Being accepted into a college is the culmination of extremely hard work and dedication. Two of my three kids have gone through the application and acceptance process. I'm hoping that we're in the graduation year this year. And my third is a junior in high school, so I am in the midst of it all over again. So I speak from experience when I share that how easy it is for the stress to get out of hand, and what a wonderful time it is to spend with your kid. Remember, life in Lake Wobegon is always grand. The hedges are perfectly trimmed, the apple pie always fresh, the dog catcher politely returns a few strays who get temporarily lost from their loving owners. Garrison Keeler's fictitious town of Prairie Home Companion is an idyllic place. Each episode of the radio show ended with the line, "Well, that's the news from Lake Wobegon, where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average." So today, listening to parents talk about their children, sometimes it sounds like we must be living in Lake Wobegon. Obviously, all of our children are above average. We live in Montgomery County. Soccer, lacrosse, robotics, AP classes, nutcracker recitals, and more. This is not just focused on our kids. We have expectations of super achievements for our peers and ourselves as well. According to a survey by the website nerdwallet.com a few years ago, Bethesda, Maryland has the highest percentage of people with advanced degrees in all of America. Quote, a whopping 27.3% of the city's population has a professional or doctoral degree as their highest level of education. And another 26.8% of the population has a master's degree as their highest level of education. Only 1.9% of the population did not finish high school. Bethesda, the article continues, Bethesda beat out Palo Alto, California, and Wellesley, Massachusetts for the top spot. Potomac was ranked number 5. In the high-performing environment that we live in, it often seems that to be average feels like you're left behind. The pressures on our children and ourselves are tremendous. The intensity and the pressure of uber achieving is all around us, and it is not always healthy or good. It does not only shape our kids' busy schedules, it impacts their mental health as well. I mention this because there is a small part of the Torah reading today which I think is frequently overlooked but speaks to our hyper-achieving world that we have created. Jacob wrestles all night with a mysterious stranger. Jacob emerges injured but transformed. The scene is beautifully represented by the tapestry, which I mentioned before, designed by our beloved Bethel member, Tamar Fishman, Zichrona Livracha. Tamar did both of these tapestries and many other projects throughout the shul. Jacob wrestling with the angel changed his life and ours forever. The next day, Jacob hobbles, dusty but renewed, to meet his brother Esau. The brothers have not seen each other in 20 years because there was a total loss of trust between the brothers. When the two meet, though, they hug and cry with joy at their reunion. And as they depart, Esau invites his brother to travel with him. He says, "Let us start on our journey, and I will proceed at your pace." The brothers are reconciled, and Esau wants to travel together. Maybe it is to catch up on what each other has been doing over the decades. Rashi emphasizes how, though, the brothers are listening to each other for the first time in a long time. Rashi picks up on the phrase, "I will proceed at your pace." He highlights that they are thinking about the other and letting the other set the pace for their experience. He writes in the voice of Esau, I will take a longer time on my journey by going slowly as is necessary for you. But it is Jacob's response that jumps out at me as I hear it in our uber-achieving world. Jacob says to Esau, this is back into the Torah, Jacob says to Esau, "My Lord knows that the children are frail and that the flock and herds which are nursing are in my care. If they are driven hard a single day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I travel slowly at the pace of the cattle before me and at the pace of the children until I come to meet you in Seir." These lines are so interesting because I would have expected Jacob and Esau to ride off into the sunset together after the successful reunion. That would have been a great ending of the story. But Jacob responds in a way that I do not think is articulated anywhere else in the Tanakh, seemingly infrequent even today. Paraphrasing Jacob, I'm going to go more slowly because I'm going to let the children set the pace rather than pressure them to go at your fast speed. That is not only a rare statement to find in Torah, but it is even more rare line to find in our culture today. How many parents do you know who are capable of saying the equivalent? Not enough, that's for sure. Again, think about social media posts. They talk about those who are so outstanding athletes and those who were admitted to Ivy League colleges and those who won medals for academic achievement, but they don't say very much about their ordinary students, the average people. You read the posts and you think we live in Lake Wobegon. And therefore, if you have a child who is not a straight A clarinet playing quarterback, who's also captain of the chess team and debate club, who does 100 hours of volunteering work a week for the NGO that they established, who writes poetry and composes music and solves math problems before breakfast, well, welcome to the real world. By definition, being average is what most people are. But it seems there is no bigger shanda than being average today. Some years ago, I read a story by Rabbi Jack Reamer. He told a story of Madeline Levine, who is a psychologist in Marin County, just north of San Francisco, where I grew up. She has written several books on parenting, including one titled The Price of Privilege: How Parental Pressure and Material Advantage Are Creating a Generation of Disconnected and Unhappy Kids. So Marin County is a lot like Bethesda, just with a lot more hot tubs out there. So she tells the story that she was once scheduled to give a talk on how to parent the average child. Not a single person showed up. Could it be that no parent in Marin County has an ordinary child? Or could it be that no one in Marin County was willing to admit it because to be ordinary is somehow to be tarnished? Or could it be that we have a misguided idea of what being extraordinary and being ordinary really means? If being extraordinary means being first in your class, then many of our children are going to be unsuccessful because there is only one first in our class. By definition, there can only be a single person first in their class. And so perhaps what we need is a different definition of what constitutes success. Perhaps we need a definition of success that is not so narrow and not so competitive as being first in your class. As one measure of what people find truly important, let me tell you something I have observed. Before a funeral service, I meet with a family. And sometimes they tell me that their father was the CEO of a large company or that their mom was the most successful lawyer in the state, but that does not happen very often. More often, they tell me about what kind of person that they were kind, that they were generous. They share that they did a lot of good for their friends and for strangers. That is what they talk about when they want to summarize a life to me. Some obituaries read like resumes. They tell you what college the person graduated from, what jobs they held, how well they did in those roles. But when I talk to the relatives before a funeral, they tell me more often that this was a good person, that they did a lot of good in the world. And many times I walk away from a funeral genuinely sorry that I did not have the privilege of getting to know that person. And many times I walk away with the awareness that ordinary can be extraordinary if you do good to those around you, if you are a friend and a role model to your children, if you make the small corner of the world that we inhabit a little bit better, then you are a success, whether you have trophies and plaques on your wall or not. And that is what this statement of Jacob has to teach me. I wonder how Jacob's children would have reacted if they overheard what Jacob had said about them to Esau. Would they have been insulted that their father said that they could not travel as fast or as far as the horsemen in Esau's entourage? Or would they be relieved that he was not going to push them to keep up with the impossible and that he was not going to pressure them to go faster than they could? I wonder what Jacob would say if he could see the frantic pressure that some of us put on our children to succeed today. I wonder what he would say if he saw the pressure to excel, to be special, to come in first that we put upon our children. I wonder how we transform the goal of making a mensch into the goal of certain specific college acceptance letters. I wonder what Jacob would say if he met those parents who panic when their children bring home a B on their report card. I can't say for sure, but I think that Jacob would say that teaching our kids to be kind and to be helpful and to be a mensch is a bigger mitzvah than teaching them to succeed in these external criteria. I think he would encourage us to go at their pace and cultivate their growth as people. Average has a bad name nowadays. There is a feeling that anyone who is just average is a failure in life, and our kids get that message. Even if they don't say it in words, they can tell by the look on your faces that when they bring home a report card that has 4 A's and 1 C, what's the question parents ask? How come the C? Isn't that so? We are too quick to critique rather than to praise. And we often praise the wrong things. I understand why we pressure our kids to succeed. It is because we love them and we worry about their futures. If they don't succeed in everything, how will they earn a living in this competitive world if they are not number one? There is some truth to that worry, but I fear for the price that our kids pay for this pressure. I fear that they will end up feeling that we love them only on the condition of their success. And that if we do not produce the grades and the medals and the achievements that we expect from them, our love will not be helpful enough. Please don't understand me. I'm not saying that we should not encourage our children to study hard and to do well. Of course we should. But I'm saying that we should not make academic success or athletic success or financial success the be-all and end-all of their lives. I'm saying that teaching our children to be kind and generous and helpful to others is just as hard to teach and just as important to teach as any other subject at school. But we, not the teachers, we are the ones who are responsible for teaching our kids to be kind and generous and menschlichkeit. And so I have a very simple suggestion to make to you today. We all have signs and reminders posted on our refrigerators. We have the telephone numbers of our friends, the numbers that we need to call in an emergency. We have the dates for the recitals and the B'nai Mitzvah invitations posted there. But may I suggest that we also take the lesson of Jacob to heart and we post a sticky note to ourselves. Parenting is about making a mensch. We forget this sometimes, but let's never stop seeing our children for who they are themselves. Parenting is about making a mensch. That is part of Jacob's lesson for us. Let us support our children to proceed at their own pace according to their own talents and not necessarily at the pace of others. Let us post these words so that we can be reminded of them every single day and so that our children can be reminded of them too. For if we do that, then we and they will be reminded of what should be their top priorities and values. We and they will realize every time we go past that sign that kindness counts at least as much as being on the honor roll, and that the pressure to succeed can become, if we are not careful, an unhealthy addiction that will consume their lives. If we keep this in mind, our children will bless you, and I believe Jacob will be proud of us. In the long run, that may mean more than all of the plaques and all the trophies on our shelves. In reality, our children are diverse. They have various talents, and I dare say, are just ordinary kids. So as we decide what to post online, let's celebrate the successes and realize the realities as far more complex than the curated spaces on social media. The view from Lake Wobegon is nice, but that's a fictitious place. The blessing for us is to see the ordinary as extraordinary. Shabbat Shalom.